Welcome to the Millionaire Race podcast, where we empower you to maximize your potential in order to better your financial standing. Why? So that together we can solve most of the socio-economic problems that face the African American demographic today. I am your host, Toksi Ogunyemi, and really happy to have you on the show with us today. If you haven't already done so, please like and subscribe to the show. The more likes we get, the better the visibility the show gets, allowing us to reach more people. In addition, you'll be notified when new shows are uploaded. Thank you in advance for doing that. Speaking of new shows, my regular listeners will no doubt have noticed that I haven't posted any new shows lately. In fact, this is the first upload for this year. I do apologize for this, but there is a very good reason why. You see, at the end of last year, December 1st to be exact, I got a call that I had lost my very, very dear brother. He went on to be with the Lord quite suddenly and unexpectedly. He and I were very, very close, and the news really rocked my world. All of December was spent helping his family, laying him to rest, as they say. I am a firm believer in the Lord, as you know, and so was he. So undoubtedly, I had quite a few questions, but needless to say, one day we'll know why these things happen. He was a little older than me, but he wasn't old by any means. And I was expecting that we'd have many, many more years to have fun and adventure together. But alas, that is not to be. It's taken a while to get over his loss, and to be completely honest, I'm really not over it yet. But I realize that we must keep on moving. That's what he, especially he, would have wanted. And that's what God expects us to do. When things like this happen, it's a reminder, a powerful reminder, that our time here is finite. We are on this earth for a specific period of time to accomplish whatever it is that we are to do while we're here. We don't have forever to get things done, so the sooner we get started, the better. You know, a huge part of running the Millionaire Race is time. If you haven't started running the race, well, this would be a good time to start. And if you have already started, well, congratulations. You are way ahead of the pack. In your case, let's do what we can to run even faster. As I continue to remind us, African Americans make up 12% of the U.S. population, but only control about 2% of the wealth of this nation. A sobering fact that in some way explains the African American experience today. As a community, the African American demographic lives in poverty. When the average income of the African American family is around $40,000 a year, and the net worth of an African American family well below that, in many cases a negative net worth, that lack of wealth bleeds into every aspect of the society. Yes, that may not affect you directly. You might be doing well. You might be part of the statistic that helps bring the percentages up. But for every one of you, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of people in the opposite direction who are struggling to make ends meet, struggling with the lack of ability to take advantage of the opportunities that exist in the United States. We have spoken in depth on some of the reasons why this is occurring today. We've talked about history, we've given examples, we've interviewed many people, and while we continue to work on other ways to strengthen the African American family, our solution here at the Millionaire Race podcast is for every African American family to have a net worth of at least $1 million or more. Doing this will open up a plethora of opportunities, or the ability to take advantage of opportunities that exist. Opportunities with education, with employment, opportunities with better health. The list goes on and on. Since this is the first episode in quite a few months, I'm just taking the time to remind us of why we're here. In today's United States of America, attaining a net worth of $1 million or more is not as hard as it seems. There are many ways to get there. The two main ways that I have talked about and projected so far. The first, owning your home. If you buy a home The average price of a home right now in 2026 is a little over $400,000. So let's say you buy a house for $400,000. History tells us the real estate market over the last 100 years, if you follow that history, over the next 30 years, that $400,000 house or home would have at least doubled in price, if not more. That would be a $400,000 house would have a value of $800,000 or more. Imagine you got a 30-year mortgage on that house. In 30 years, that house would be paid off and you have an $800,000 net worth on just that one item alone. If you invest $200 a month over the next 30 years, it's more than $400,000. That is based on the average rate of return of the stock market over the last 80 to 100 years, which has been anywhere between 10 to 11.8% per year. That's a net worth of over $1 million in just those two items, which appears to be the simplest way for us to attain these numbers. And based on that, when we started these podcasts, we interviewed African Americans who had already completed this portion of the race. They already had a net worth of $1 million or more. And we interviewed them so that they would tell us what they were doing, tell us how they did it so we can learn from them, be inspired by them, and hopefully be able to do what they're doing to attain the same results. If you haven't heard those episodes, I encourage you to go back and listen to them. We have some great people that we interviewed. Now, in the process of that, some people had reached out to me saying, well, it's all well and good to hear from those who've already made it, but can you give us some tips on how to do it? And that's how we developed the 531 method for financial success. I would also encourage you to listen to those. In fact, I have some news on that. We're actually putting together a little book that summarizes all that you can carry around, hopefully pass on to other people who haven't heard the show, because it's not just a financial framework. It's actually a life framework for us to overcome the history that we have here and be able to succeed going forward. It's a blend of finance plus social cues, so to speak, that if we imbibe into our culture, will guarantee us success going on into the future. That book is in production right now. It's actually, I think I'm about 60% of the way there. When it's done, you will be the first to know, and we'll be happy to get a copy into your hands. A book like that is very relevant in our time today, and I know it will make a significant impact and difference when it gets out there. So I will let you know when that is ready. In the meantime, however, I think it's time to focus on those two elements that I spoke to you about in terms of attaining this net worth, because I have this feeling now more than ever that this is even more urgent than I felt before. We really need to get things moving in the right direction. Yes, we've had those interviews. Yes, we have the 531 method, but I really want to focus over the next few episodes on buying your home and financial investments. Time is so crucial on those two elements that it's important for us to get started with them if you haven't already. For those of you who might have been interested in buying a house, the market is pretty crazy right now. Interest rates are extremely high. House prices are extremely high. Not enough inventory for homes to buy. It's very confusing, I know. I deal with this every day. So I'm going to try my best to share with you what's out there and the best way to approach this. And then, of course, on the investing side of things, I'll share with you what I do. And I'll also bring on some industry experts who can, share their knowledge and expertise as well to help get us in the right direction. So I'm going to focus on those two things because despite the fact that there are many ways to grow your wealth and attain the $1 million net worth, these two items, I think, are the simplest that are available to everybody. So that's what we're going to focus on, but not this week. This week, I want to remind us on one of the items in the 531 method for financial success. I obviously bring this up because of what I explained earlier concerning my brother. He wasn't expecting to go. However, he had prepared in case something like that did happen. He had prepared for his family. And that's very important. No one knows the day or the hour, only the Lord does. However, we must always be prepared. And because of that, what I want to talk to us briefly about today is to remind us about life insurance. If you have anyone who is dependent on you and your income, you must have life insurance. Having a life insurance policy is the best way of showing your care and love for those you would potentially leave behind. Now, no one likes to think about this, and like we talked about before, insurance is one of those things that you hope never to use. But if you do need it, it's one of those things you better have. If something were to happen to you, apart from the loss of you not being there that your loved ones would feel, would they also be in a financial predicament because you're no longer there? That's what you have to plan for. And life insurance is the way to do it. Life insurance ensures that if something were to happen to you, those who depend on you will be able to carry on, will be able to survive, will be able to keep running the millionaire race, will be able to do all the things that you would have wanted to do for them if you were here. So let's discuss a few things about life insurance. So I'll start by speaking to those who don't have any life insurance at all. For those who don't have life insurance, ask yourself this. If you're not here, what are the people who depend on you supposed to do? Would you be winding the clock backwards for them? I urge you to reconsider today. You need life insurance. Yes, I know that there is a cost associated with it, but the cost of not having it is 1,000,000 times worse. So those are the first set of people that I'm speaking to. The ones who don't have life insurance, please make a plan to get it today. The next set of people are the ones who have very low life insurance. I've seen people with policies of 10,000, 20,000. I guess the idea for getting those low amounts is just for something to cover your funeral. That's good. That's thoughtful in itself. But just covering your funeral is not enough to look after the people after the funeral is done. The rule of thumb for a life insurance policy amount is 10 to 12 times your income. So if you make $40,000 a year, for example, you'd be looking at a $400,000 to $500,000 coverage amount. Why this number? It's quite simple. If you made $400,000 a year, and let's say you had a $400,000 policy, and that was in some good mutual funds in a brokerage account, the idea is that it should grow by about 10 to 11% every year, which would be about $40,000 and replace your income. That's where that number comes from. It's as simple as that. Of course, if you can get more, get more. But that's just a simple calculation on the 10 to 12 times your income. If you have an insurance policy that is just enough to cover your funeral expenses, I implore you to get more. Life insurance is also a great way to transfer wealth. Many people use that as a method of transferring wealth to their children or their descendants when they leave. Even though they already have funds, they have life insurance policies in the millions. And when they go, that's additional money for their generations to keep on growing. It should be the same for us as well. Make sure you have life insurance to keep your family tree growing if you were not here. So what type of life insurance should you get? Because there are different types out there. Well, I can give you some of my first-hand experience because I used to own an insurance agency. I owned an agency for about 4 years before I sold it. I already had my mortgage company and we started offering insurance products as a benefit to our clients, but it was beginning to interfere with our main focus and that's why I sold it. During that time, however, it was a captive agency. What that simply means is it's one of the large ones that you see out there and they expect you to sell all their products, not just life insurance or home owner's insurance, which was what we were focused on at the time. I sold quite a lot of life insurance policies and I only sold term life insurance. That's the only type of insurance you should get. Term life insurance is the simplest form of insurance. Basically, you get it for, I recommend, a 30-year term. You get it for 30 years, you pay your premiums, and whatever the face amount is, if anything were to happen to you, it's paid directly to your beneficiaries. Very simple, and because of that, the most cost-effective type of life insurance. But then you have all these other gimmicky life insurance options that are offered to you. Universal life, whole life, all these different types of variations. Basically, what they try to sell you is that you can have not just life insurance, but you can have it with an investment side to it where some of your money is invested for you, or you're able to borrow from it. And they come up with all these different combinations and make it so confusing. You don't really know what you're getting. Well, there's a reason why they do that. The less of it you understand, the easier it is to get your money. Now, as a insurance agency owner, we were paid the most for all those gimmicky types of life insurance policies. We were paid the least for term insurance policies because the insurance companies didn't make as much money from those. They made the least amount of money from a term life policy, but they made a lot of money from all these other, you name them, whole life, universal, whatever, all those big names that they add to it. Don't fall for that. Do not buy any of those types of life insurance policies. There are some advantages to some of those if you already are a millionaire. But if you're not, in our case here where we just need life insurance, term life insurance is the only type of insurance you should get. You will find that those other policies are quite expensive. You'll be paying 3 to 4 times as much for a quarter of the amount of coverage on your life insurance policy. Keep your insurance and your investing separate. Get your term life policy for your life insurance, and your investment, we'll talk about doing that elsewhere. Like I said, we're going to focus a lot over the next few weeks on buying your home and investing, and we'll talk about that. But please, if you have any other type of life insurance policy other than a term life, please go out and before you cancel now, don't cancel whatever you have until you get a proper term life policy. When you have the term life policy in place, only then should you go and cancel whatever other policy you had that's whole life or whatever. And you will find that you're paying way less and you'll be covered way more on the term life policy. But remember, don't cancel any policy you have until you have another better one established in place and functioning. Okay? That's crucial. Don't cancel whatever you have until you have a proper term life policy going on. I also, like I said, recommend 30 years. Why? Because the older you get, the more expensive a policy is. So if you're in your 30s and you get a 30-year policy, you'll be 60 by the time that runs out. And hopefully by then you'll be what is called self-insured. Self-insured is when you have enough money that you actually technically don't need a life insurance policy to take care of your descendants and your beneficiaries. If you have young kids, they would have graduated college already. And hopefully you and them have already run and surpassed the millionaire race. But at that time, when you're 60, you probably have enough disposable income that if you still wanted to get a policy, even though it would be a little bit more expensive, you could easily afford it. But if you get one that's just 15 or 20 years long, you might need one when you're 50, which is going to cost you more because you're older. That's why I recommend getting like a 30-year policy. I actually made that mistake when I was younger. I got a 20-year policy, which is about to run out. And so I had to go and get another one. It overlaps a little bit, but at least I have another one for the next 20 years. It's a little bit more expensive, but the value of having that and making sure that there's something for my kids or something to happen to me is priceless. So again, make sure you have life insurance. Now, when should you get life insurance? It's when you have people depending on you for your income. I have a lot of these agents that say, oh, you should get life insurance policies for your little kids and things like that. No, you don't need that. When you are a working adult who has dependents, that's when you need life insurance. Life insurance is one of those things, like all types of insurance, that you hope never to need. You hope never to use. But when you need it, you better have it. Having a life insurance policy is one of the hallmarks of being a responsible member of the millionaire race. It's not hard to get. We just need to imbibe that and have that in our culture, that it's important and an absolute must to have in order to protect the generations coming after us. If we all do this as individual families, as individuals, the landscape will change. No longer will you have these incidents, these numerous incidents where people pass on and have nothing left or nothing to pass on to their children. And this cycle of poverty continues. Let's start to make that change today. I know we can. So where can you get these policies from? Like with everything else insurance, you want to get quotes from different places. Of course, you can go to the captive agencies, the farmers, the state farms, the Allstates, but then also you can go to actual brokers like there's Zander Insurance, and there are quite a few Select Quote. There are quite a few of them online that will get you quotes from different brokers. Get quotes first from different ones because insurance is very specific to your age, to your health status, and all those kind of parameters. And different insurance agencies are looking for different types of people to insure. So one may have higher premiums for you, while another one may have lower premiums because you're the type of person they want in their portfolio. So get different quotes. Don't be stuck with one because whichever one you get, you're going to want to keep that for the next 30 years. So you want to make sure it's the best one you can get now. But go ahead and start today. Don't wait. If you don't have an insurance policy, a life insurance policy, go get a term life policy today. And if you have one that's not enough to cover you, if it's just 100,000 or 150, please, let's raise that today. It's never going to be cheaper than it is today. So that's why you need to do it. Every day that passes makes it a little bit more expensive. Let's get life insurance, term life insurance. It's important to our success in running the Millionaire Race. So we're back. Hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll be back next week where we'll be talking about mortgages, buying a house, the best way to do that, whether you have 1 or 2 or 3 houses. We'll help walk you through this interesting real estate environment that we're living in today. But for now, I want to thank you for being here. My name is Toxio Gunyemi, your host. God bless you, and I'll see you next time.